Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. I'm joined by Kieran Powell, as always. How are you, mate?
Not bad, John. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. We're currently in day 4 of the Test match. Shai's unbeaten, but we've got a couple of talking points that we want to go through, especially more from a bowling standpoint perspective, and obviously from a team selection. Obviously, we discussed the team selection last week. What were your initial thoughts on the 11 that was selected?
Again, I think they made a mistake by going with 5 seam bowling options. I don't think that there's generally ever a case where 5 will do what 4 can't do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It always works out to be a situation where one bowler becomes severely underbowled, and then you start looking at, okay, was he actually necessary? Because you're never going to be able to strike the balance evenly between all 5, because obviously you look at your senior bowlers like a Roach and a Jaden Seals, you expect those to take up a bulk of the seam bowling overs anyway, and then you're fitting in a Justin Graves, who would in this attack, who will actually be the third frontline seam bowler after the main 2, and then you have an OJ Shields and a Johan Lane. So I think that they could have gone with a Kavim Hodge. I mean, if you're looking for an out-and-out batter, I think Brandon King would have pipped Kavim Hodge, but I think just because of the composition of the team, in these conditions, Kavim Hodge offers a left-arm spin option as well. So if you wanted someone to break up and add some extra variety, obviously Roston being an off spinner, and that's the way I would have gone. But yeah, I think that they made a mistake in going for the 5th seam bowling option, and it's twofold with that as well, because I look at Anderson Phillip, for example, and I'm wondering, is he, in their opinion, only a like-for-like replacement for a Jaden Seals, per se? Because we look at the past few tests, Johan Lane has come and jumped ahead of him.
Yep.
OJ Shields has now come and jumped ahead of him.
Yeah.
So what's his purpose and what's his thinking now, being in the team for quite a period of time, but not getting opportunities? I mean, even you look at the pink ball test in Jamaica, which you think would be perfect for him, Australia dropping their spinner, and the West Indies played Jamil Warrican. So it always seems to be a situation where he gets a game at the wrong time, but when you think that he should play, he never gets the opportunity to play.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, especially when I was I was impressed with him when he was over here playing county championship as well, really. So I understand obviously the frustration that he must be having as well. But talking point as well was bringing in Kemar Roach, and he's bowled absolutely superbly.
I mean, the value of not only experience, but he is a great of West Indies cricket. We're going to be honest. He's now on 291 Test wickets. Yep. Another 5-wicket haul. I'm sure this time 2 months ago, this time 3 months ago, he didn't know if this day would ever be possible again. So I mean, congratulations to him, because ultimately he still had to play. He still had to put in the work. He still had to maintain his fitness.
Yep.
With not knowing whether there will be a next likely chance of him ever playing again. And then he still had to go and put in the performance and take those 5 wickets, take that 7 wickets in the match. I'm sure this is his first 5-wicket haul in New Zealand, because I've been to New Zealand, I think, twice with him. I don't remember him having any 5-wicket hauls. So, I mean, I think that the Ian Bishop said it's the oldest seamer to take a 5-wicket haul against New Zealand as well. So it just continues to show his value to this West Indies team. But it also leaves me to wonder what's going to happen now when the other 2 Josephs are fit, because obviously Jaden Seals is, you'd like to think, the leader of the attack, and the other 2 Josephs play. So where does this put him in the pecking order? Does this mean that he tours but he doesn't play? Does this mean that he tours and he plays as a rotation, knowing that the other guys have been sort of injury prone, so you keep them in and around and rotate them around him? How long do you keep him for? It's a lot of questions that it's open up, but ultimately I'm just happy to see him get the opportunity, and not only get the opportunity, but put in the performance that should now allow him to get through this series and try and chip away and get as close to, if not achieve that 300
mark. Yeah. I think you mentioned there about having him around. I think that he'd be brilliant to keep him around, because one thing that we spoke about there was how he kept himself in the game. He's obviously kept his fitness up. So from a professionalism perspective, I think it'd be great to have him around the squad in general, really, because I think ultimately there'll be a big benefit for him being around. So I think, like you said, I suppose it is going to be hard to fit him into the side, but I suppose that's competition for places as well, because that's one thing that we've got at the back end, obviously, from a bowling perspective, is we have this competition for places, and is that where you're seeing sort of peaks in performance in potentially?
And, I mean, you look at Jimmy Anderson, for example, he's just signed the next one-year deal to play for Lancashire at 44.
Yeah,
so it's not a matter of being too old, it's a matter of performance, and if you're still performing, it doesn't matter what age you are.
Exactly.
You're still good enough once you're performing. So I'd like to see, as you said, where this leaves him. I think that the West Indies tried to split it in a sense where he would bowl with one of the less experienced bowlers and Jaden Sears would bowl with the other less experienced bowler, but you weren't able to have that sustained pressure because it's always one end that didn't have the level of experience or skill as the other end. So it was sort of easy for New Zealand to flow from one end, and then now as the senior bowler trying to search for a wicket to stem that flow and earn. So I think that's how New Zealand sort of got away from the West Indies. Obviously, pitches in New Zealand are a bit spicier on that first day, the first 2 days, and then you see them sort of settle down and become a lot more batter friendly, which is the case that we're seeing now. But I think that West Indies tried their best with the resources they had, and obviously Kemar Roach was sort of the main beneficiary of the conditions.
The point that you mentioned about the length, the comment, obviously the message me and you spoke about earlier, that you felt that the bowling a bit too slightly short and slightly wide in the first innings with a bit on offer, but then in the second innings, sort of making the batters play. What just talk me through that sort of comment about the length side of things.
Okay, if you look back at when New Zealand bowled in the first innings and how the West Indian batters were getting out, it's more so just on that fuller length, the ball going through maybe at knee height. So guys are trying to drive, enticing you to drive because there's movement on offer. But from closer to the stumps, so sort of not, let's say, on the stumps, but you're talking about fourth and a half stump, not going too wide. So you're coming down in that very tight channel. Whereas when the West Indies bowled, you saw guys take a bit longer to adjust. So the ball's going through probably waist height for the New Zealand batters, guys playing a lot more off the back foot. And it's a bit wider as well. It's sort of that six and a half stump line. So you're providing width and you're not really providing many wicket taking options apart from getting out caught somewhere because of the length that the ball is going through. If you're challenging sort of the knee roll, then LBW, bowled, and obviously all the caught dismissals, etc., come into play. Whereas the length that the West Indies are bowling earlier in the game, I think it was just a bit too short and a bit too wide. So I think that's an adjustment they will make, because I mean, you look at when Shai batted in the first innings, for example, you always hear me talk about, if I were to be playing against Shai, the two types of ways I'd be looking to get him out is bringing the ball back into him, which New Zealand did a lot, and you see him get hit sort of on the body with the ball chapping back at him like quite a bit. And then you see them bowled quite a few short balls at him as well. So, I mean, it's just understanding the players and adapting to those players quickly and those situations quickly. But all in all, as I said, two experienced bowlers weren't really allowed to bowl with each other for long enough to build that sustained pressure, and then have another experienced bowler come in to back that up as well.
So that sort of keep that pressure.
Yeah, that sort of hampered the West Indies' ability to really push any pressure on New Zealand. And I think that the West Indies are a lot closer and a lot better than people think in terms of the bowling side of things in Test match cricket, because as I said, the two Josephs are out, and when they are back, we've seen sort of the second half of this year what that bowling unit looks like. And I think that if they were both there, preferably with a Kemar Roach as like a fourth option, it would have been a hell of a series to see, because then it's sustained pressure. The only thing I would like to see done differently is Roston bowling a bit more overs and holding up one end, allowing the other fast bowlers to come back and rotate from another end so that they can come back and be fresher. They can bowl more impactful spells, sort of, whether it is a shorter spell, but give me all that you have for 3-4 overs, build pressure, and eventually you're going to lead to a cluster of wickets eventually. So that's the only thing I'd like to see after the opening bowlers and the seam bowlers on a whole go through their first spell or their first two spells. I need to see Roston bowling a lot more overs and holding up an end, allowing the fast bowlers to rotate from the other end.
I know we're going to cover from an overall standpoint, and obviously touch on the batting at some point over the weekend. But the point from that perspective of Roston if Roston was to bowl more overs, does that then maybe have to sacrifice him a bit more from a batting perspective then?
I definitely feel that since Roston has come back in, he hasn't necessarily found the flow of Test match batting as he did probably earlier on in his career. He's still someone that has 5 Test match centuries, and I think in this team he probably has the most Test match centuries. Yeah, but I think that he's batting a bit too high currently. For me, I would have him batting at number 7.
Right. Okay.
As I said, I need him to bowl a lot more overs. He hasn't really bowled that many overs since he's been back into the team. I think that he needs to be in a situation where he can come in and ease into an innings, ease into the flow of the game, and start getting some runs, getting some scores, getting some confidence back, because obviously he would want some performances from his standpoint as the captain, So I think that's something that they need to look at. I would have Justin Graves batting at number 6 instead of 7. I would have Roston batting at 7 instead of 5, and I would bring in either a Kavim Hodge or a Brandon King at number 5.
But you're sacrificing Shai with the gloves then?
No, I'm still having Imlap batting at 7. At 8, sorry.
Oh, right.
So remember I said I'm not playing 4 seamers, I'm playing 3. Because I've still got Justin Graves and Roston in the team batting
and
at 6.
You can use Kevin Hodge potentially as well then as your option as well.
So you've already got 3 other bowling options there, plus 3 frontline seamers and Imlap at 2. So then you get extra batting. You still got the balance with the bowling attack as well.
Yeah, and then obviously Roston can bowl more overs because he's batting a bit lower down the order. Yeah, so it gives you that. Yeah. Right. No, I'm with you on that completely. I'm with you on that. I don't, obviously, like I mentioned before, we are going to touch the whole Test series in general more from a batting perspective. I don't think we can finish today without talking about Shai in terms of his performance overnight. At this moment in time, he's 116 not out from 183, and he's in some serious nick at the minute, isn't he?
I mean, I think we touched on this after he scored the century in India, where he became the first West Indian to score a century in each format
in a calendar year for the first time.
Year. And he's gone on from since that to score another ODI century and now another Test century. So he's almost done the double in terms of scoring 2 centuries in each format in a calendar year. Obviously wasn't able to do so in the T20 series, but I think now what we're seeing from Shai is what the whole of the West Indies would have wanted for a long time, more so than his exploits in 50 over cricket or T20 cricket, is for this level of performance and productivity in Test match cricket, because I think for true West Indian fans and for most true cricketing fans around the world, Test cricket is still the pinnacle. And you just have to look at the attention that the Ashes is getting from around the world to, I guess, put that statement as being as true as it possibly can be. But no, what we're seeing from Shai, obviously, at century in his last innings in India, half century in the first innings of this match, and now an unbeaten century now. also on the back of having an eye infection. I think it shows that, where he is with his game personally right now, the level of productivity, the level of consistency, it's something to marvel at. And I think that he's taken his game to a level that is mirroring sort of players that you sort of deem as the best in the world, whether it be the Virat Kohlis, the Kane Williamsons, the Steve Smiths, the Joe Roots, across the guys that have done it across formats. And
Absolutely.
we hope that he can continue to do this. Obviously, in particular, from a test match batting standpoint, but what he's doing in one-day cricket, I don't think that's going to change anyway. No. And what he's doing in T20 cricket. But, if he can continue to do this across the board for hopefully another 5 years, it would be amazing to see what his numbers finish like, and I hope that he can get his test match average to above 40. I'm also cognizant of the fact that he's playing this amount of cricket. So I'm already thinking, can we alleviate him from the keeping duties in 50 over cricket as well?
Yeah.
And allow him to just have fresh legs and free rein to focus on batting as much as possible and scoring as many runs as he possibly can, as consistently as he can across formats, because he's reached the apex of his powers right now, and he's doing some amazing things. It's really good to see from a West Indian standpoint. It's obviously great to see from an agency standpoint, as Emma is the one that represents him. So no, I'm just really happy to see the level of productivity that he's being able to produce right now, and hopefully it inspires others within the team and within the region.
100%, and the inspiring thing is definitely something that he is going to be doing that 100%, and people idolise him and people look up to him because of how he goes about his business and the way he carries himself, which is obviously a credit to himself. The thing I would say is that I would like Cricket West Indies to sit down with him and say, right, okay, Shai, how can we, the way you're playing at this moment in time, what is it we need to do to support you? Is it a case of...
I can give you a very easy list. It's simple. How long do you want to play for, Shai? I want to play for 5 years. All right. Here is a 5-year, $2.5 million contract. Let's start with that. How else can we support you? I need to play XYZ series. I need to have a break for the other series. I need to be keeping in these series. I need to not be keeping in these series. These are the things that I need to manage my body and be able to sustain to get me to not only next year's 50 over World Cup, but the 50 over World Cup in 4 years' time after that as well. And then, you can say thank you very much, Shai Hope, for being an amazing servant of West Indies cricket.
You're saying it's simple, but I hope they do have that conversation, because ultimately that is what the goals need to be. Is you need to aim at the 50 over World Cup, then the other one, what is it we need to do? But, ultimately having Shai playing the way he's playing over this consistent period and making sure he doesn't burn out is going to be a huge thing.
100%. But I mean, those are, that's just future planning. It's not just Shai. You look at Shamar Joseph and Alzari Joseph or Jordan Seals, exactly the same conversation. You offer those guys 5-year contracts from now, $2.5 million contracts. You let those guys run it out, because those guys are the face of West Indies cricket, whether from a batting or bowling standpoint. And you build your teams around them. As I said, holistically, they need to look at guys that can play cricket across formats and start building a team sort of in the way that New Zealand does, and have players that can play across formats that way, that you can sort of have your very specific pool of players, and these are our guys. These are the guys that are going to take West Indies cricket forward. And you plan out their year in a way where it's beneficial to you, but also to them, where they can still have breaks and go and maximize some earning potential from them in a few leagues, but still be available for West Indies when you need them to be available.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that from that perspective is exactly right. It's getting that balance between them, but hopefully, obviously, like I said, we will be touching base over the weekend, talking about how Shai saved the Test match potentially. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. We know that. We're not naive on here, but hopefully, it'd be brilliant for him to get a double century.
I mean, with the injuries to New Zealand's bowling attack, with Henry and Smith being injured, there's a lot of pressure now and on Duffy and Folks, along with Bracewell and Ravindra. So hopefully the West Indies can get through that first session, and then
just take it deep.
You never know. And again, something like this sort of highlights my point as to why they should have probably played the extra batter instead of the extra seamer, because then this gives you a chance to, at the very least, look to try and draw the game.
Yeah.
Even if you can't win it because there's so much runs required.
Yeah.
At least you have a chance to bat out the entire day. If you get to even within 100 or 80 of the total, you did a hell of a job. That means guys would have had big centuries. You'd have had a number of guys getting centuries, and you can take that into tests 2 and 3. So I think that was a significant blunder from the West Indies in terms of the team selection.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. But thank you very much, Kai. And do let us know what you thought, your current situation of the test match, and do let us know what you think. But thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Thank you.